It's that time of week, guys, where we play Trash or Grab. The game where we check the golden and weekly vendors to see are the items worth grabbing or they absolute trash. Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So today we are playing Trash or Grab. This series focuses on looking at the weekly vendors and seeing what is worth buying or not, focusing from a PvP perspective, but touching upon PvE where it is appropriate. We will go through the vendors in Cyrodiil, Infinite Archive, Scholarium and much more. As always with this series, this is recorded on the weekend, the 1st of November 2025, so if you are watching in the future, things will be different. For the Golden Vendor herself, you can find her in Cyrodiil. She's on Northern High Rock Gate for DC. If you're over on AD, she's in the Western Elsewhere Gate. If in the Ebonheart patch, she's in the Southern Morrowind Gate. As always, if you want to stay up to date with the series, then likes, comments, sharing and subscribing really helps out. And if you want to support the channel to get access to videos early with exclusive builds and guides and much more, there are details down below. Some of the guides do include that gameplay you saw at the front from that build that just released yesterday, with over a 15-minute video breaking down tips and tricks and much more. For the vendor this week, she is selling the following stuff. She has 2 DLC helmets, which are always worth considering, and they are the Bar Zaka set. This set is whilst you're in combat and you perform a dodge roll, it creates a pool of blood, and after a 1-second delay it explodes. This scales with your max health. This is a relatively new set in all honesty, and if you're on a health stacking build, there is a video on the channel that has this with 140,000 health. It's pretty good. So if you are like doing those kind of max health builds, this can actually get really high damage. Now, is it like going to be super broken? The answer is obviously no, but it is pretty fun if you build around it. So I'd say like consider the set, but I wouldn't rush to buy it. And again, it's more for like those just high HP stacking builds. We then have Prior Theric. Did indirect damage with an AoE ability, creates a 6-meter shadowy whirlwind, and it does a damage over time. The damage does increase, which is quite cool, and it has a 15-second just cooldown. The use for this in PvP isn't particularly high. It's a bit of more bonus damage if you're trying to bomb, but in all honesty, the bonus damage isn't worth Balorg. Balorg is just way better, so this is more of like a fun set rather than an effective set. So if you're after a set that's going to be pretty good for just like PvE, because people sit still in that, not bad, it's decent, worth considering. If you're after a set that's going to be like for PvP, this probably isn't for you. The One Piece is okay, but it's generic. You can get this easily on any, most monster sets have this. And that's the same with this one here, just loads of health again, really easy to pick up. The jewelry this week, we have Deadlands Assassin. This set used to be fantastic. It has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. So it gives you loads of damage, which is worth stressing. And when you deal damage with a heavy attack, it does need to be a full heavy attack, and it generally needs to be melee because of how the actual proc works. You throw out just cones and you do basically an AoE around them. So it's kind of an assassin set, hence the name. The idea is that if you stack lots of damage and you open up somebody with, say, a heavy attack concealed weapon, you can then proc this set easily and you get this bonus damage. The best way to think of this is like Tarnish Nightmare. Tarnish is probably better, but this is instant hit, so you can, it makes it hard for people to avoid and counter it. Is it the best gank set? The answer is no, but it's worth considering, and I would stress that you can buy this from other players, so I would just, buy this from other players. It's going to be cheaper. We then have Eye of Grasp. When you deal critical damage, you generate ult. It's an ult generation set. It's not terrible. PvE, it has some uses if you want to really go down an ult gen route and maybe transfer it to other people with some support sets. It's very niche, and if you're kind of down an ult gen route for PvP, Bloodspawn's really good. You got Werewolf Hide, that's another good ult gen set. You could use the Vampire skill, the channel, which is really good, Invigorating Drain. So there are other ways to get ult gen quite quickly, and it's not a huge amount of ult, so I wouldn't rush to get this. The 5-piece giving you just 7 ult, not great. You better just having a damage set or a penetration set or use a sustain set. This will help you much more in PvP, so I would skip this. Heaty's ring, this is quite a cool ring. The dungeon's a bit of a pig, I'm not going to lie, it's quite hard to get. So if you you know, don't like doing dungeons, and this is a DLC dungeon, it's pretty annoying, I would consider buying this. And when you heal yourself or an ally, you gain a warm and aura, and it's basically a big AoE on the floor. It kind of follows you around, it's pretty cool. And anybody within that just gets loads of free healing, 1600 health a second, and the sprint, block, and dodge roll are cheaper. This is very, very good for PvP. The advantage of this is that this is great in ball group because it gives everybody healing, which is fantastic. Because it sticks to you as the healer, you can move around, which is awesome, and they still get the healing. And on top of this, it reduces sprint and block and roll dodge. So if you're pushing as a ball group into somebody else, one person running this set is very, very useful. Now, can you stack this with other players? The answer is yes and no. Yes, you can get the healing. The actual like sprint, block and stuff, that's just flat, so you can't stack that part of it, but you can stack the healing. And this is like the Templar cleanse, but it's on a player, so you can just run around with the cleanse on you. And if 2 or 3 people have this, it's actually a lot of incoming healing every 2 seconds. So it's worth considering in small scale groups. With enough good old Reynolds Resolve, when you deal damage, you gain a stack of Resolve, it increases your healing and it increases your resistances. It can occur once every half second, and it can stack up to 9 times. So basically this is around like 3700 armor, and it's like 9% healing. It's a defensive set. It's a very good one, but it needs to charge up, and that's like the drawback. So if you're after a defense set that's going to give you survivability, this is not bad. There are better sets like Mark of the Pro, it's just fantastic. You can use Ethereal Ascension, which is also a really good defense set for just loads of armor. So this isn't like the super meta set, but it's decent enough. If you want to stay alive a bit longer, it's worth considering. It's not the best one. Rallying Cry is really good. The other sets I mentioned, like Pariah, is fantastic. But it does have some uses, and so I would say consider it. I personally wouldn't use this. I think you'd have more success just being more mobile, in all honesty, than just stacking resistances and healing. But that's, you know, each their own. So the week has a bit, there's not anything great in there. The monsters that you may want to get if you don't have them. And then we're going to hop on over to the Infinite Archive. The Infinite Archive is a vendor in Apocrypha. This person's called Fire All, and they sell a range of different things you can get. But the main things we're after is always the leads. Often the leads are pretty mid, but sometimes they are so spectacularly good that you have to get them. And we always check, just like for that reason. So once you get inside here, you want to go as far east as you can. And you'll see a little tentacle person who will then be able to give you, see the stuff. One thing that I really like with this vendor is they do sell some good cosmetics now and again. So if you do like masks and stuff, they're pretty cool. So this week, we have the following. We've got a lead for the mounts, and we've got a lead for Belhazar's band. The band is a light attack band, basically. It increases the damage of light attacks. It's not that good. So for that reason, I wouldn't get this. It's just, the mythic's not good enough to like warrant spending this many fortunes on. For context, you can earn about 5,000 fortunes in about an hour in the archive, maybe an hour and a half at most. So you can, get the lead quite quick, but you could just farm it, and the mythic isn't worth it. We then have Throthrikin Shoulder. This is just a cosmetic. If you like the style of it, then do consider this. We then have a few scripts, so we've got Force, Heroism, Mitigation, and Cavalier's Charge. These all have their own kind of like uses, in all honesty. Cavalier's Charge is probably the best though. But you will notice that this is 4,000, because I already know this, and if you don't know this will be 5 times the cost, 20k. It's going to be super expensive. I would say, however, this is a very good one. And the way that you utilise this, so I'll show you with our superstar in the Scribing Simulator. If you go for something like Banner Support, or Banner Barrier, and you put on, say, Shock, which increases everybody's damage, including yours, which is great, and then you use Cavalier's Charge, this will increase your damage by 1% up to 450 based on your speed. So the more max speed you have, the more damage you get out of this. And then you use, say, Courage. This skill, when it's fully buffed, adds about 900 damage to your stat page. And it only costs a little bit of sustain. Now, if you want to be very clever with this, you could actually change the Shock and go for the Immobilize. Now, what this does is it uses a bit of health, not a huge amount, and a bit of stam, not a huge amount, but you're now immune to snares and immobilizers. So what this basically means is this is a mythic. There's a mythic called Snow Traders, and this skill is basically Snow Traders with loads of damage. The only issue with this is that you normally want to double bar this, because it's a bit annoying to have to turn it on and off when you swap bars. So I'd really wish Sauce would change the skill that it'll work on both bars once you have it on. It's like a toggle, but it's still very worth considering. That's where you mainly use this script. The other ones are not great in all honesty, so I'll just skip those. We're now going to hop on over to the Scalarium in Avea. The Scalarium also a range of different scripts here. These are for gold, so I always kind of look at these a bit more favourably, just because you can buy them, you can bank them, and then you've got loads in the bank. But it's still worth, know that sometimes they're a bit mid. When you get inside here, you then want to go all the way up to the top of the stairs. Here it is. And I want to stress that if you do not have these wings completed, they will glow blue. The vendor won't appear and you won't be able to farm these leads normally. So now I've got a video on the channel. If you're unsure how to do it, just get these all blue, follow the video, you get 10 scripts a day, it's loads of scripts. And for the vendor, you have to have the Indrik, the little deer mount here, glowing blue at least once on one of your characters, for this vendor to appear. The vendor is in the Far East called Fernando, and this vendor will sell a range of different things that are worth considering. So all of these are here are always for sale. This week he has Evasion, Shock, Assassin's Misery, and then Class Mastery. These are all pretty good. So Shock is fantastic. I actually use a lot of Shock an awful lot on a lot of my builds. So Shock's main use is on Wield Soul with Shock Magic. If you're a sorcerer like this class is, you get this Class Mastery, which is bonus damage, and then you get Breach. This becomes a spammable that hits hard with bonus damage, and it gives them Breach. Now on a build that's actually buffed up, this does around about a 10k tooltip with an extra 3k. So I'll show you this switching to my PvP build quickly. So this is my PvP build I made recently. There's also an Oakensaw version of it. This is the Oakensaw version. I can show you with that just really simply. So you'll see that it's got 11,000 base tooltip with a 2,700 here. So this spammable hits like a truck. It hits so hard, and for a ranged spammable this is fantastic. So this is basically like 13.5k, almost 14,000 spammable at range. So this is super good. You can use any other damage source with this, but a sorcerer they get bonus shock damage, which is why we use shock. So it's very good. So I would recommend, and I've done it already, I've gone through and I've bought loads and chucked them in the bank. Like, do you want to just keep them in the bank? The other thing you can use shock for, which is really worth considering, if you go to Elemental Explosion, which is the Destro one, it hits very hard, and you use shock, and then you can put on Assassin's Misery, which is the second script you have here, and then you can also put on one of choice. Bristle is normally the best one for this. You end up getting a skill that hits 20k. If you hit Cloak, you get a guaranteed crit, so that's now 30k, plus the additional. A very hard hitting skill. Burn and Shield and Concussion procs, which is also instant damage. So this, like Assassin's Misery, is just free damage. If you're a sorcerer, you'd use Class Mastery instead, in all honesty, because this works on everybody in the AoE. But the Assassin's Misery also works on everybody if you're not a sorcerer. So this is a really good script for this specific use. Beyond that, you wouldn't really utilize Assassin's Misery. And then you then have Evasion, which is decent, but you can get those buffs generally anyway, so I wouldn't rush to get this. There's no good skill that you want to run this on, in all honesty. The final place we check is the Imperial City, and we check the Telvar Merchant. One thing to stress before we go there is you can buy the scripts from here. Don't use it. Chuck it in a banker if you have a banker with you, which is fantastic. Or you can ask somebody to come and do this with you. And you will see, if you look at my scripts, I have lots of scripts in here because I've been doing this every single week now for a very long time. And that's how I got so many scripts. So it's an easy way to just build up the scripts over time. Do consider doing that if you can afford it. Now we're in the Imperial City. You're looking for the Anvil and the Flame. It's over here. And then we're looking at this merchant who sells generally NAF jewellery, but it's mainly the leads. The leads are good and sometimes the scripts are good. It is worth stressing this person is stupidly expensive, so just bear that in mind. This week we have 2 jewellery pieces. We've got the Night Slayer, This basically means when you do heavy attack, you just Oblivion, all the jewelry you can buy from other players for the cheaper, so just never get by these basically. We've got 2 leads. We've got the Hectotome Tassets. This is for Bloodlord's Embrace. What this mythic does is when you hold block and you bash somebody, you put a mark on them, and then that mark will essentially mean that you will get free magicka when they hit you back. It's about 1400 magicka back. It's a lot of magicka. It's a really, really high amount of sustain. And if you use an Ice Staff, you can generate this through the Ice Staff block, which means blocking can be free. It's very, very good. So I would say consider it. It's a very niche one in all honesty, but it's worth considering. The second one is a fantastic lead, and this is for the Death Dealer's Feat. I actually have this on my character, and this is super, 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 super good. So what Death Dealers does is when you get into combat, you get a persistent stack that just charges up and up and up, and it gives you loads of magicka, stamina, and health. It's about 3-4k of each resource, and then if you have percent boosts like Inner Lights, you've got Sorcerer Passives, for example, this can be 5,000 magicka. It's quite noticeable, and every 10.5 magicka is 1 damage, or there effectively, and so this basically becomes just loads and loads and loads of damage. Really, really good mythic. So this is like one of the best mythics for sorcerers in the entire game, so do consider that. The lead itself, it is a Reward of the Worthy lead. So if you are doing a lot of PvP, you'll get this naturally. So I wouldn't stress. That said, if you don't do any PvP and you want the mythic, then buy this. There are, that's where this is good for you. For most people who watch my channel, you'll probably have this lead many, many times by now, and you probably have the mythic already, but if you don't, this is a quick way to get it. I would personally say to Telvar if you play PvP a lot, because you'll get this naturally anyway. For the scripts, we have Berserk, Protection, Taunt, and Anchor Knight's Cruelty. All of these are pretty mid. The only one that's worth considering is the Cruelty. This just gives you Oblivion damage on your soul skills, so your Wield Soul and also your Soul Burst. They are damage over times, and they're equivalent to a normal dot or damage. The only difference is the dot goes under a shield, so you can damage people who do shield, and you have to really stack lots of these kind of effects. So like this with Slowed Semblance, those 2 skills, maybe the War Chief as well to reduce the healing, to kind of make it viable. So it's so niche that this isn't worth using, and it's very expensive. So I would skip all of these in all honesty. And yeah, that is the review for the week. There are a few kind of things that are okay-ish, but nothing that stands out that is spectacularly good that you have to buy. The only thing I would say is the lead for the Death Dealers is fantastic. That is the best thing to get. Beyond that, I wouldn't stress massively and maybe save your money this week. As always, I'll catch you next video or stream. The stream will be on Saturday at 9 PM today, so if you are around at 9 PM UK, come see me live on YouTube. But otherwise, I'll just say thanks for watching. I'll catch you next video. Take care, and bye.